We will call the Green Bay Sex Offender Residency Board to meet. Roll call.
I will capture members who are present.
Okay. And then if I can get a motion to approve the agenda for the July 20th, 2022 meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Then if I can get a motion to approve the minutes from the June 22nd meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from the June 22nd meeting.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
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 No, abstain, I was not present.
Okay, thank you. All right, the first order of business is the appeal of David Junian requesting to move to 246 Burger Street. Mr. Junian, are you present?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
Okay. So this is your first time appearing before the board, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to ask you to tell us what you were convicted of, the circumstances surrounding the offense. But when you talk about it, we do not want the victim by name or relationship.
Okay.
Okay? So it looks like you're currently living at 246 Burger and you wish to remain there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how long have you been there?
2 months.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you were arrested for and convicted of?
Okay, I was arrested for putting my hands down a young man's pants back in 96, I think it was. I was convicted and spent time in jail, and then I was on probation.
And how did the police get involved?
Apparently, the young man told the school officer, and then within a couple days, I was picked up, ma'am.
Okay. And how old were you?
How old was I?
5 years ago, he was 50.
50? Yeah, maybe 50 or a little bit older.
Between, I would say 50 and 51.
Okay. And was it a one-time offense or had you done it repeatedly?
No, ma'am, it was a one-time offense.
One time.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
It looks like according to your charge that you listed on your application that you were convicted of repeated sexual assault.
That's what they listed it at.
That's
Okay.
what the,
But you're saying it only happened one time?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Captain Riggles, can you confirm that?
I can tell you that the charges are 3 or more occasions. And by the looks of it, a little bit further down, it would happen. There was claims of it could be some 19 times while traveling in a vehicle between the victim's address in Oconto County and property in Marinette. It doesn't say 19 times of convictions, but the convictions show 3 or more times. According to what they said it was repeated acts.
Okay, thank you. David, how do you respond to that?
I have my doubts on that.
And why is that?
He doesn't understand he thinks that when it happened once, he doesn't think of it as when he probably drove him home, he probably put his hands on the boy's thigh or put his arm around him. And I think they used each one of those as an offense.
Okay, can you please state your name for the record and your relationship?
My name is Dietland Sakowitz. Been a friend of David's for 20 years. And I'm his POA for health and for financial.
Okay. All right. Does any of the board members have questions regarding his offense?
I do not.
Okay. I'm sorry, Pete, did you have something?
No, there's nothing here.
Okay. David, we might want to talk about your treatment, and you have the option to do that in closed session, or you could in public session. Do you have a preference?
But what, can you tell us what it means when you're saying close?
Sure. Right now, there are several other individuals that are we're going to be hearing their appeal. So those individuals are on the Zoom meeting, in addition to representatives from the Green Bay Police Department and the Green Bay Law Department. Everyone would have to leave the call except for the board members and the law department. If you remain in public session, everyone will be able to hear what we're talking about.
I would, not let other people know my status, please.
Okay, so then I need a motion from one of the board members to go into closed session.
Move to go into closed session.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, David, we're just gonna hold off for a minute while Deanna gets everybody off the phone.
Okay, just give me a moment.
Thank you.
Okay, you may proceed.
Okay, so you were on probation for 5 years. At any point during that 5 years, did you have any rule violations?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you successfully completed your probation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Board members, do you have any questions?
None here.
None here?
No.
Okay. Any comments anybody would like to make?
Just that this was over 22 years ago. Seems like he hasn't been in any trouble since. He's in poor health. And I think we should move to approve.
Okay. Is that your motion? You want to make a motion?
Yes, move to approve, address specific.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. David, you've been approved to stay at 246 Burger Street. If you decide that you're going to move from that location, you will need to come back before the board if you're going to stay in Green Bay.
I understand, ma'am.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next on the agenda is the appeal of Ryan Honout. Is that correct, how to say that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, Ryan. Currently living in Sturtevant,
Correct.
and which, is that an actual institution?
Yes, it is.
Okay, which institution are you at?
Sturtevant Transitional Facility.
Okay, and you're requesting to move to 215 South Taylor Street?
That's correct.
Okay, so as, you heard me, state to the previous gentleman, we're gonna ask you about your offense, and again, don't state any names or, relationship. Okay? So tell us what you were convicted of and how it came about.
Okay, so I sexually assaulted underage children by viewing them exposed via the internet.
And how did that, how did you get involved in that?
But when I was 13 years old, it wasn't like right away. Most days were normal porn, but other days it was, you know, viewing images of girls that were the same age as me, and it kind of, you know, once in a while just went downhill from there.
And what do you mean going downhill from there?
Well, it kept, like, it was consistent. Like, I might not look at it for months at a time, but then I'd be like, oh, what, you know, I would have an urge to see someone my age.
Okay. And then how did, the police get involved?
I had pictures on my phone, and I'm a nature photographer, so when I went on Lightroom, the pictures downloaded and they tipped it to the police. And when I went to work, they were there after the investigation and everything, to pick me up.
Okay. All right. Captain Riggles, is that correct?
Yes, I showed 10 counts of, possession of child pornography, and it was flagged, by some of the safeguards, in the internet providers.
Okay. All right. And, Ryan, when the police confronted you about that, did, you admit to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you take it to trial or did you plead guilty?
I played no contest.
Okay. All right. And are you originally from Green Bay?
No, about an hour away in a small town, Wittenberg.
Okay, so why do you want to come to Green Bay?
I was living there the past 3 years before I went to jail with my best friend there.
Okay. All right. Board, does anyone have any questions regarding his offense?
None here.
No. Okay. So Ryan, you have the opportunity to we're gonna want to discuss your treatment, and you have the opportunity to go in closed session like we did for the previous gentleman, or you may stay in open session and we'll all remain on the call. What would you like to do? Okay, so you on your application you listed self-treatment will explain upon request.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Well, I've done pretty much everything in my power to better myself, including taking up a new subject, neuroscience, a lot of books on neuroplasticity, how it can kind of influence my brain to think differently. And a book that I have found, I'm going to read you a quote from the book, The Brain That Changed Itself, Stories of Personal Triumph from the Frontiers of Brain Science by Eleanor Deutsch. It goes, as for the pain involved in porn, most were able to go cold turkey once they understood the problem and how they were classically reinforcing it. They found eventually that they were attracted once again to their mates. None of these men had addictive personalities or serious childhood traumas. And once they understood what was happening to them, they stopped using the computers for a period to weaken their problematic neuronal networks, and their appetite for porn withered away. So from this quote, I take that as, you know, something I can live without, and moving forward, I think I can live without it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I'm assuming you haven't had any access to the internet since you were convicted of this offense.
Correct.
Okay. Are you gonna have rules, that you're not allowed to have access to the internet when you're released from custody?
No rules. I'm still, you know, I'll be able to have like a monitoring software, eventually hold. That's about it as far as the internet is concerned.
Okay. And while you've been in custody, you haven't received any formalized training or treatment from, the institutions?
When I first got locked up, took a life skills program that lasted a few weeks, and then until they canceled the program.
And what kind of things did you?
We had to do like a wheel, and on like you listed like being social, the different aspects of life, from exercise, parenting, things like that. And you put on this wheel and you rate it from 1 to 10, and the objective is to, you know, make that circle as it could be. And that was one of the things I distinctly remember from that class.
Okay. All right. So it looks like, you have some family support, is that correct?
Yes, family and friend support.
Okay. And do they live here in Green Bay or the Brown County?
No, they live about an hour west in Wittenberg, right outside.
Be able to have contact with them?
Yes, ma'am.
And how are you gonna have that contact? Are you gonna be able to drive there, or are they going to come visit you?
They're gonna come pick me up, I believe, on Friday, or next Friday. No, excuse me, in 13 days. It's not Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. And they're gonna come pick me up, and, you know, they're gonna bring my bike so I can, you know, bike before I get a car. And I'll be helping them out with the backyard and remodeling their house.
Okay. And how did you find this, housing location?
My parents, they were a huge help.
Okay. And are you gonna get a job when you get out, or do you already have a job lined up?
I have a letter of recommendation sitting right in front of me to, once I get out, yes.
Okay. And, you list on your application, other support or programs at NWTC. What does that entail?
Well, I'm not going to, go to NWTC right when I get out, but the semester that starts in January as a laboratory technology something course that I want to start on it.
Okay. All right. Does the board have any questions for Ryan?
Ryan, I would just say, there are lots of, assistance in Green Bay to help you find employment. So make sure you reach out to those. I work for one called Forward Services. Can reach out to me, or there's a lot of them. So you should be able to find work without a problem.
Okay, thank you. Forward Services? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Forward Services? Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for him?
Yes, I was wondering if you had any other mode of transportation? Do you have a driver's license?
I do, yes. That, driving, for riding a bike, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any discussion from the board?
I have one more question. Has Your probation officer mentioned any treatment outside, when you get, released?
No, sir.
Ryan, if the board would not approve you, where would you go?
I would go to a TLP.
Okay. Here in Green Bay?
Yes,
Yeah. And your agent has confirmed that?
yes.
Okay. All right. I'll just, give the board my opinion. I'm not very comfortable with you not having any formalized treatment. I think personally a TLP would be appropriate for you for a little while until you can get your feedback, you know, being in the community. And hopefully at that point, your agent could get you involved into some treatment here. And then by all means, you would be able to come back to the address location of a permanent residence. But that's just my, I'm not sure how any of the other board members feel.
I'd like to err maybe on the other side, maybe we approve for 6, and see if, his agent can, get him some treatment, while he's living in this apartment. It's very, very difficult to get an apartment, in Green Bay, especially with a record, and if his parents have something lined up for him, I'd hate for him to lose that.
Can I mention something real quick? I was already approved for an apartment, right by Myers on 215th Street.
Approved to live there by the landlord, but you still have to be approved by the board to reside there.
All right,
That's what you're here for today, is for us to make that decision.
okay.
All right?
So I've got a third opinion. So for the 60 days, I mean, the idea there is if he does something that's illegal or violates a probation requirement, then we're not allowed him to live there any further. But I mean, my understanding would be that if he did violate probation or have another offense, doesn't matter if, you know, where he lives or what kind of, 60-day period we have, he's going to face criminal, I'm losing the word, but he's going to face consequences that will remove him from that location and probably back into jail. I don't know if Attorney Mays, if you can speak to any of that, but typically if you are a sex offender and you commit any kind of related crime, you typically will be back into jail, correct?
Offends, I mean, it just depends on what they did. I mean, any kind of law violation could result in sanction leading up to revocation. I mean, it could be a wide range of consequences. It could be rules added on by a probation agent. It could be a sanction in jail for a couple of days. It could be revocation or a hearing on revocation. So it's difficult to say what the consequences would be if there was some kind of reoffense. But I mean, typically we would see the 60 days just to get confirmation that things are progressing, that treatment has been enrolled in, that a job has been acquired, those things to make sure before the board approves, indefinitely at that address, that supports are in place. So I don't know that you can necessarily bank on what consequences would be with a new offense, but there could be consequences if there was a slip up.
Yeah, Alex, I'm not looking for 60 days, see if he slips up and makes a mistake. I'm looking for 60 days to see if he can make progress and if he can get some treatment.
Yeah, as long as, I'm not a huge fan of the 60 days or 90 days, just because I'd like to see some finality for the applicant, but for the neighbors. But if you have a 60 days with some kind of benchmark that you can say yes or no that they met, I'm a little more agreeable to that. And then just in general, I think the intent of this ordinance is really to make sure that somebody isn't going to recommit. And I don't know what the type of it doesn't really matter where they live. It's an internet issue. Too concerned that the location is going to increase his chances to recommit. So for that reason, I'm in favor of the applicant and their request. If you want to throw on some kind of a 60-day period, as long as there's a benchmark that goes along with it, I'm supportive of that. Thank you.
Make a motion on this.
Well, what kind of benchmark do you want to see? Is he enrolled in treatment, and what kind of treatment are you looking for?
No, sex offender treatment, there's plenty of it available.
And I mean, I would just make a motion, and I'll make a motion to approve the appeal by Mr. Klinglet as presented.
Address specific?
Correct.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed. All right, so that was 4 to 1. Is that correct, Rachel? All right. Ryan, you're approved to reside at 215 South Taylor Street. If you choose to move, you will need to come back before the board.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is the appeal of Jesse Syverson, requesting to move to 913 Meacham Street. Is that how you say your last name, Jesse?
Severson, yes.
Severson, okay. All right, so as you've heard me indicate, we're gonna ask you to tell us about your offense, what you were convicted of. Please don't mention the victim by name or relationship. And then also we'll want to know how the police were involved.
In 2007, in the state of North Dakota, I was convicted of a Class A misdemeanor. They labeled it as certain materials prohibited. Specifically, it was child pornography. They logged 31 images. I did not know the victims personally, but I did plead guilty and did not take it to trial.
And that was a misdemeanor case?
That was the misdemeanor case.
Okay, what about the felony?
The felony case was I went in for my pre-sentence investigation, and I brought in my laptop for inspection, and they found a thumbnail photo that they decided to charge me with a second case of child pornography, certain materials prohibited, which I also pled not guilty to, with the extenuating circumstances that a misdemeanor was still ongoing.
Okay. And how did you get involved in looking at this material?
I had recently been kicked out of Job Corps. This was 2006, 2007. I moved into a private halfway house. I knew a lady. She allowed me to stay there in the interim. I was using an old social media site that I had created when I was a teenager called Hi5. That's HI5.com. The the community groups that I was a part of were being inundated by, quote, personal photographs. I had no way of knowing that, but I did print out, I believe, approximately 31 pictures and stored them in a folder at the halfway house.
Okay. And on your application, when you listed the victim's age, you basically said victimless, and in parentheses you put prosecution words. Yeah. And that they declared that a victimless crime. Is that correct?
They declared that, but I don't consider it a victimless crime.
And what?
Because I have been in a similar situation as a minor where I had to expose my lower body regions for the purpose of his child abuse investigation. And I can tell you that in a situation where the victim is unwilling and not in a police investigation, the feeling that I was feeling must have been multiplied by thousands, a million times worse. You know, this was just photos of my backside and front side, but I can, what's the word I'm looking for? I have a slight chart of idea of how this might have affected them, even though I don't know who they are. And for all they know, these pictures might not know if they're out there still to this day, and it might be a constant concern for the rest of their life.
Okay. And so this happened, you were convicted back in 2008 of this. I'm assuming you served your time in North Dakota. Have you been residing in North Dakota and now you want to come to Green Bay? Why Green Bay?
I was actually residing in Moorhead, Minnesota, and this was a little bit complicated. I had already spoken to someone at the DOC about this. It was a spur-of-the-moment move. I am already at the residence, and they have been informed of that. Green Bay, my sister had been living out here since 2005. My mom moved out here a few years ago because she had to retire early from the FAA due to vertigo. And I'm currently out here to serve caretaker along with my fiance Curtis Isabel here. Melanie has more of a control over my mom's physical and not being. She would be able to explain more why the caretaking is needed, but I'm worried about falls. She can't currently access her basement. I'm here to stabilize her and make sure she stays safe.
Okay. So how long have you been living at the residence?
Since the 4th or 2nd, yes.
Of July?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Does the board have any questions for him regarding his offense?
None here.
Yeah, I have a question. I see that you were charged with disorderly conduct 4 times between 2007 and 2013. Can you kind of explain that?
To my record, those charges are not on my are not mine. As a matter of fact, the only charges on my record should be these 2 sex offenses. The only
Thank you.
jail time was due to an unpaid fine, which was paid that day.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I was incarcerated until 2011, so I'm not sure about anything prior to that. But I'm very sure after that, there should be no disorderly charge conducts or charges.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got some papers mixed up here.
Well, that's no problem.
My mistake.
I was worried. I was like,
Okay, Jesse, I do have a question about the felony offense. It says that you were sentenced to 2 years probation. Time served was 3 years because it says revoked on own request. Can you explain and elaborate on that?
yes, I had recently been released from my 1 year and a day sentence of a misdemeanor. The caveat on my probation was not to use the internet. I was caught at the library checking my email by my probation officer at the time. His name was Tony Superior. they were going to reinstate my probation for another 2 years. And I told the judge honestly that because of my continued attempts to try to reconnect with my family, that it would be very difficult for me to maintain that. And I did not want to waste any more time or resources when at the time I believed I could not follow the rules pertaining to that.
Okay. All right. If we would like to discuss your treatment, would you like to do that in closed session or remain in public session?
I would like to remain in public, and I would like to actually add something to the time served that I just mentioned on the 3
Sure.
years I asked for was specifically the amount of time they expected that it would take me to get on the list and into the intensive sex offender program treatment. That did not happen, unfortunately. While I was in there, they kept pushing me down on the list for people with physical contact with their victims.
Okay.
I wanted to move forward with treatment, but I did not get the chance while I was there.
Okay. So but you did take Ed City sex offender treatment.
Yes, and I am actually having a little bit of trouble finding documentation from North Dakota on that, because from what I understand, their low intensity program is kind of like a prelim, a basic lead into the intensive therapy side of things. Well, because I was released without probation, I wasn't able to take advantage of the were available to other people on parole and probation for reduced fees for the treatment itself.
Okay. So how long were you in the low intensity?
Low intensity groups average between 8 to 12 weeks.
All right. So could you maybe just share what you did learn?
Okay, well, first of all, due to the nature of the curriculum we were using, the treatment staff at the North Dakota Penitentiary System made a decision to make a alternative, alternative goals and plans to deal with my internet-based crime, because they had nothing custom tailored to that. They talked about the importance of verifying, you know, for one, if you're going to look at pornography, go to a site that, you know, makes a disclaimer saying that all of their models are of such and such age, you know, ID-wise. You know, not saying that I'm, you know, porn addiction. I'm here with my fiance here. You can ask him his opinion on that, but that was one of the biggest things I learned is you can't just get them photos offline from a social media website, and know for sure what you have is what you think it is. I was very irresponsible. This is a social media website, and I exposed myself to that because at the time I was reliant on pornography as part of my activity. I was very cloistered, and I wasn't very, what's the term I want to use? I was discombobulated due to my experiences prior to this scenario, but because of my inability to access the internet on a normal basis, I chose to print those images out and store them. I do want to specify that my intent of going on that website, it was for social networking, but when I saw that the site had been overrun by personal photographs, it turned into something other than a social network for me.
Does the board have any questions regarding his treatment?
I'm here.
None here.
No. Okay.
Jesse, are you familiar with the app on the internet for, it's called Nextdoor? It's like a neighborhood app.
I am not, I don't believe so.
Okay. Well,
App is broken down by neighborhoods, and there were some concerns from residents in your area residing there.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? Do you know your neighbors? Do you get out and about and talk to them?
My mom is on good terms with her surrounding neighbors. She said that she wouldn't have a problem discussing it with them. I, because of being a caretaker for my mom, I rarely leave the home. If I go anywhere, it's usually Walgreens or my sister drives me around for errands. I do not have a driver's license. I haven't since probably 2008. Combined with some disability issues with my ankle, too much, and I am people shy, and I do currently have diagnosis of agoraphobia, but those records have not yet been transferred over to Brown County. So I do tend to stay in the house and do what I can for my mom.
okay. Is there anyone that needs to or wants to speak on your behalf?
My sister, I know, would like to speak if you have any questions for her specifically that she could answer. Otherwise, my fiance, if you had any specific questions, he's not well. He'd be better answering questions than offering information. But both parties, I believe, are okay with making a statement if they want to.
All right, does your sister want to make a statement?
Sure. My name is Melanie Shevchik. I do reside in the city of Green Bay.
And can you list your address for the record, please?
490 Colette Avenue.
Okay.
Jesse did move here just a few weeks ago. As of before July 2nd, it was pretty much all falling on me to take care of our mother. She is a fall risk. She does need people here in case she does fall, to assess whether or not she needs medical attention, and also to help keep her home safe for her. She's been struggling with many different things health-wise. This is actually because I can't be here 24/7. I do have a family of my own, and I do work full-time. Actually is the best thing for our mother. It definitely gives me a lot of peace of mind knowing that somebody's here if something happens to her, because that's been my big fear lately. Jesse has kept his nose clean, and I'm fiercely protective, so if I felt there was something to be concerned about, I would be, but I absolutely trust that he is going to do everything he can to keep her safe, and I'm very relieved that he is here.
Okay, thank you. All right, does the board have any other further questions?
Heidi, you mentioned that there was some communications on the Nextdoor app, and I'm curious if there's anybody here from the public. And I'm relatively new to the board, but has there ever been a circumstance where you open the floor to public comment if there is anybody in the public that wants to make comment?
Yes, if there was somebody from the public that wanted to speak for or against Jesse, they have every right to do that. I don't know if we have anybody here. I didn't see anything on the agenda that he had any speakers. Is that correct?
Heidi, I just wanted to reach out. There were 2 different points of contact that were sent to the law department. People who indicated that they did not want to speak, but they wanted their message conveyed to the board. First of all, we got a Samantha Heisman at 1213 Hickory Hill Drive, indicating that she did not want to speak, but she wanted to submit her comments. Those comments being, I Googled his name, and he had pornography charges. We have multiple families with little children.
Rachel, I think your arm might be on the microphone. We can't hear you. You're kind of muffled or something. Right now. Now you're good.
Okay. I will direct at the microphone. The comments were, I Googled his name and he had child pornography charges. We have multiple families with little children in the area, plus 2 schools very close by. I shouldn't have to be worried if my children will have photos taken of them. And then Alderman Chris Weary sent a message that he wanted to convey. He said, on behalf of myself, as a neighbor 1 block over, and numerous residents who have reached out, we are firmly opposed to the placement of this offender. So those are the ones that have been submitted ahead of time. I don't know if anyone else who's on the call wanted to speak either for or against this application.
I just want to say I've known him for over 10 years, and we've lived together for 10 years, and he has no sort of behavior to outwardly harm anyone in any way.
And just for the record, your name is Curtis Isabel?
Yeah, I'm his fiance.
And could we get your address for the record as well?
It's currently here at 913 Meacham Street in Green Bay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I had a couple points. The first one is, Jesse's not being accused or has never been accused of taking pictures of minors. And the second one is, I'm aware of the Nextdoor app, and that's about as reliable as Facebook because anybody can post anything they want on there. I don't take any of that into consideration.
So similar to the last applicant, one of the things I consider is the placement going to increase the likelihood that that person may recommit, and I just don't believe that's the case. Had he been the one that was taking pictures, I would have some more concern, but it's not the case. That's my comment.
I'd like to make a motion. I make a motion to approve address specific.
I'll second. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Jesse, you have been approved to reside at 913 Meacham Street. If you decide to leave that residence, you will need to come before the board before you move somewhere else.
Understood.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. All right, the next appeal on the agenda is Jared Krentz. Jared, are you on the call?
He's on here, he just needs to be unmuted.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I am here.
Okay. All right, Jared. So you, on your application, you have that you're currently residing at 2065 White Oak Terrace, but you don't know which address you want to move to. Are you requesting to stay at the 2065 White Oak Terrace?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So if you could please go ahead and tell us what you were convicted of and how everything came about. Again, please don't mention the victim by name or relationship.
I got 2 counts of sexual assault of underage. It came about because of my old friend group. We were drinking one night, and it just escalated from there. It just kept escalating, and I should have stopped when I did, and it just kept going.
And what did you exactly do? You were drinking one night and?
And I sexually assaulted 2 one that night, and then the other one wasn't when I was drinking. The other one was, just, I don't know how to explain it. It was still part of the old friend group that I was part of. So because everybody else was doing it, that I would be fine. It would be fine for me to do it. I was 18 at the time, and I should have known better.
Okay. When you say you sexually assaulted somebody, what did you exactly do?
I had sex with them.
All right. And they were not willing?
The first one was, I know they put that one in there. The other one said that it wasn't consensual. I don't quite remember much from that night, because we were all drinking, and all I know is I regret it.
And you were sentenced to 1 year in jail?
Yes, ma'am, I am out on Cuba right now, so.
Okay. And when do you get released from that?
I get the bracelet off for house arrest on February 21st, 2022.
And how long have you been on the bracelet?
I have been on the bracelet since May 26th.
How come you didn't come before the board before this?
There was, I guess, a miscommunication between me and my Methodist. I didn't know anything about it. We had to set a bunch up, and I guess he got an email from Rihanna, I think it is. And then once we found out about it, I got the paperwork filled out and sent in.
Okay. Captain Wiggles, is his description of the offense accurate? Or if maybe you have more information you could relay?
Sure, by the looks of it, the one that appears to be consensual, according to the criminal complaint, it points out that he's 19 and she was underage. He made the comment, it's okay if we just keep it a secret. I didn't do the math to see if he was 18 or 19. The next one was, there was a party, there was alcohol involved. Sounds like multiple attempts to try and get the assault, and while she, the victim, was sleeping, woke up and there was more attempts that were going on there. So that did occur. It appears that the minor was under the influence of an intoxicant. There was also charges for exposing genitals and exposing a child to harmful material.
Those ones were read in, correct?
Captain Riggles or Attorney Mays, is the only reason this is before us is because of the distance to John Muir Park, or is there another location?
What was your question, Alex?
My question is the only reason we're here, that he has to go through an appeal process, is because of the distance from that location to John Muir Park? Or is there another park or school or church that requires this appeal?
This is Deanna. I'm pulling up the map. I believe it was within the restricted area. I just need to pull up the map.
Area. I'm curious if the reason it's in a restricted area is because of John Muir Park. And where I'm going with it is, so I've got some concerns, but one of the faults of the ordinance is that it's just 1,500 feet as the crow flies. And if it is just John Muir Park, well, there's Highway 41 that's the divider. And so practically that doesn't make a lot of sense in my head as to why it would be restricted for it. But if there's another park on the west side of it that is connected to in that 1,500 foot barrier, then I've got a different opinion.
this is Deanna. It does appear that this address is across Highway 41 from what appears to be a park. It's just a few blocks away from being out of the restricted area.
And so is John Muir Park the only reason it's in the restricted area?
I don't see, well, looks like there's some kind of maybe park thing several blocks away.
And I think that's about 1,700 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's what I was looking for clarification on.
Yeah, it looks like it's just outside of the range from both Kennedy and MacArthur elementary schools and the parks that are surrounding them.
And then, Jared, you're on probation for 5 years, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you required to wear any kind of, other than the fact that you're on electronic monitoring through the jail, are you required, by your agent to have GPS?
No, ma'am.
If your sex offender treatment or any kind of treatment, are you wanting to remain in public session or go into closed session?
I will stay in public, ma'am.
Okay, so, you did take some kind of a sex offender course, is that correct?
No, I actually put that down. I thought it meant like what class I will be taking. I am enrolled in FOC. We're just waiting for my start date. And then I will also be going through the thing for my depression because I struggle every day. The victims do this and I'm depressed every day.
Does the board have any questions for him regarding treatment?
None here.
Is there any discussion?
Is there anyone wanting to speak on this agenda item from the public?
Oh, Jared, did you have anybody to speak for you or against you?
No, ma'am. My mom would have spoke for school.
So from my perspective, it seems like the crimes that he committed were crimes of opportunity. And I think if he were within that 1,500 feet of an accessible area where children would congregate, I think I would have real concerns and probably make a motion to deny it. But the fact is that the only reason why we're here is because of John Muir Park, which is across highway. I'm not concerned about the children on at John, he's going to have to go more than 1,500 feet to get to that location. And realize that he can move anywhere else in the city that's not in a restricted area. And I'd rather know where he's living than not. So I'd be supportive of the request.
I also think that he's being watched, supervised, and he's signed up for treatment, so I'm in favor of approving as well.
Okay. Any further discussion?
And I throw in there quick that my parents have been supporting me through it all, through like all my depression and all my anxiety and stuff from it.
And you will be residing with your parents?
Yes, I will be residing with them right now. Me and my ex broke up in November. We own a house together up in Turin, but I moved out of there. There weren't any tension. We do plan on selling the house. And I do plan on hopefully buying a new house after I get off house arrest.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna throw my opinion. Typically, I prefer people to have treatment before approving them to reside, so that you understand, you know, what your triggers might be, so that you don't act upon this again. But I also look at your sentence, and I mean, a Brown County judge gave you 1 year in jail. So that also, I kind of weigh those consequences. So at this point, I'm not concerned either. But if there's anyone who would like to make a motion or have any further discussion, we can go ahead and do that.
Move to approve address specific.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, Jared, well, you're approved to stay at 2065 White Oak Terrace. Again, when you do decide to move there, you will need to come back before the board.
Yes, ma'am, thank you guys.
Okay, thank you. All right. The next appeal is the appeal of Stephen Gittens, requesting to move to 1730 Badger Street, Apartment 6. Stephen, are you here?
He's on here, he just needs to be unmuted.
Okay.
Mr. Gittens, please unmute your phone.
If I recall correctly, Mr. Gittens is deaf.
Yeah, he is, he has a device is what he told me at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay. Does he have anyone there to assist him?
I don't believe he does. I can try to call him. Let's see if I have a number.
Yeah, can you send him a message in the chat?
Yeah, I can try.
Asking him to unmute?
He's not even in here. Let me see.
Nope, he just unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello?
Stephen, can you hear us?
Yeah. Yep, I
Okay.
can.
Okay, so, we're here to hear your appeal, and, you're currently residing at 3569 Satellite Lane, and you're now requesting to move to 1760 Badger, 1730 Badger Street, Apartment 6, is that correct? Okay, and why is it that you're looking to move?
Old friend, for about the last 4.5 years, and we decided to take a break, and we feel as though it would be better for us to live apart for a while, but we still do things together, and we go places together, so we just kind of want to take a little break from living together for a while.
Okay. All right. As far as the board members are concerned, Mr. Gittens has been, in front of us, several times since 2015. Does anybody want him to go over his offense and what he was convicted of, or did everybody, read everything and go through that?
I read the material.
I think the packet was very thorough.
Okay. All right. So Stephen, you're gonna be living by yourself,
Yes,
correct? Okay. And are you working anywhere? What are you doing in your spare time?
I've been at a new job for the last 10 months at Walpo Incorporated on Belt Avenue. I'm a carrier driver part-time.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
absolutely love, oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, that's good. Keep on, you can talk about it.
Oh, yeah, and I absolutely love my job. It's all customers. 3 years ago, I was deaf for 17 years and I didn't work. And 3 years ago, I ended up getting a cochlear implant surgery. All the other times I was at your board meetings, I could never hear. I had to have an interpreter there, and now I don't. So, and then my hearing surgery allowed me to get this job, and I love all my clients that I have, and it's fantastic. Sounds like a dream come true. And I'll drive for a living, and ever since I was a kid, so I absolutely love it.
Okay, all right. And as far as your criminal history goes, have you been arrested since you saw us back?
No.
Okay, good, okay. All right,
I'm staying clean, ma'am.
all right.
Yep.
And, does the board wanna talk about his treatment at all, or with everything that was in the packet, you're sufficient with that?
I'm good.
Okay.
Good here.
Okay, all right.
So,
Go ahead, Stephen.
oh,
yes,
you want me to tell you about my treatment?
No, the board is satisfied. I mean, you had it
Oh.
before us multiple times, so we have a pretty
Right.
thorough history on you. Mm-hmm.
Right, okay, thank you.
Yep. Now, do you have anybody that wants to speak for or against you?
Not that I know of them, but I'm by myself today, everybody's working.
Okay. Deanna, do you know if there were any residents that wanted to?
Nobody,
None that I know, nobody said nothing to my landlord or nothing like that.
this is Deanna, I have not heard from anybody, I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So this is my statement to the board. I mean, obviously, I've heard Stephen many times. There's been some concerns in the past, maybe about certain locations, but it was neighbors that were more concerned. He obviously has been staying out of trouble, and I don't have an issue with this address. That's just my statement.
Okay,
I still need to hear from the board though, Stephen, that's just my opinion.
okay.
I agree,
Okay.
I agree with you, Heidi. This, seems like something that I would, be very much in favor of.
Okay. All right. Any other board members?
Yes, I have a question for Stephen about the
Sure.
disorderly conduct between 2007 and 2013. Can
Sure.
you explain to me what that was about?
Sure. I was living with my girlfriend at the time in Greenleaf, and she was a diabetic, and there were times when we was getting arguments or something like that, that never ever led to violence. It was just, and she would get nervous and call the police, and then she would make up lies to the police and about what had happened and stuff like that. And then they arrested me because they didn't believe her, and I ended up in jail a few times for that. And every time I would get in an argument after, there was like several times that it happened, and it was all over arguments. That's really all I can say about it. That's all it was. And that's going on about 15 years already ago.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
Move to approve address specific.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Stephen, you're good to reside at 1730 Badger Street, Apartment 6. If you do decide to move from that location, you will need to come back before the board again.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, the next appeal is Nicholas Terrian requesting to move to 523 5th Street. And Nicholas, okay, if you can unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, so this is your first time coming before us, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, as you've heard, we're gonna ask you to tell us what, you were convicted of, how it came about, and, again, please don't mention the victim by name or relationship.
Yes, ma'am. I was convicted of first-degree sexual assault of a minor. It came about a night of drinking and drugs, and I had touched over the shirt on the chest and under the in the pants, but there was no penetration. And there was also a conspiracy to intimidate or dissuade the victim. That stems from conversations me and the victim's mother had.
Knew the victim?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how old were you?
I was 36.
And she was how old?
11.
Okay. And did this happen like one time? Was it multiple times?
It was one time.
One time. Captain Riggles, can you confirm his account?
Yes, from what I can see, it looked like it was, no penetration, the upper portion of the victim's body was, outside the shirt. The lower portion was, under their underwear, but no penetration according to that. I was trying to sort out the amount of, contempt of courts or, the intimidation. There's a couple of the intimidation on lot. There was just some other ones read in that I was trying to decipher.
The contempts, I believe, were because of the victim's mother and I having contact when we were told not to. She was actually coming to visit me in jail.
Okay. All right. And it looks like your sentence was 10 years, but you served 6. Does that mean then you're on supervision for 4 years?
Correct, ma'am.
Okay. And you are still on paper?
Yes, I was released from prison on Tuesday. I was originally supposed to go to a TLP, but the victim lives close to the TLP, so now I can no longer go there.
Okay. So you're currently residing at 523 5th Street?
No, that is where I want to go. I am currently at the Village Inn because that is where my PO told me to go, and she had gotten disarranged
Okay.
for a couple nights here.
Okay. If we want to talk about your treatment, do you wish to do that in closed session or remain in public session?
Remain in public.
Okay. So it looks like you had some treatment while you were incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and can you talk about your treatment, what type of treatment it was and what you learned from that?
I did SUDS, which was the AOD portion, and I did SOT1. Both of them focused on triggers and focusing on how to prevent further, crimes.
Could you give us an example?
Sorry, I'm just a bit nervous. Well, we talked about what led up to our crimes, which for me was drugs and alcohol, and the reasons why I went to drugs and alcohol was because I was an alcoholic, and I didn't know how to manage my own feelings, so I resorted to using, self-medicating, and that is kind of how the crime came about. So now I'm working on staying sober, trying to put goals for myself for my life in the future, and trying to stay focused on those goals.
And I know Tuesday, but are you looking at attending any kind of AA or NA classes?
I have to go to Brown County Mental Health to do a AODA assessment just so I can get my driver's license back. So I was planning on doing it today, but I ran out of time. So the plans are still to try and get that done this week, and then probably go to the Oneida Behavioral Health to get treatment for AODA and whatever needs to be done.
Okay. And are you Oneida?
I am a nominee.
Okay. And where, you listed your family, mom and dad, and it looks like a sister and brother maybe as a support?
Yes.
Is that, okay. And do they live in, the area?
The 523 address is where my mother and father live.
Oh, so you'll be residing with your mom and dad?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And I realize you just got in, but are you, looking at employment? Have you gotten anything secured? Any recommendations?
No, I haven't received any employment there. I'm planning on getting employment as soon as I can. I do have a child support to pay, so employment is a big priority for me.
Okay. All right. Does anyone from the board have any questions they would like to ask?
Nick, do you have to wear like a SPRAM device?
Right now I do. I have a GPS on right now, but my PO said, well, that's because I guess I'm technically listed as homeless. She said it will come off once I have a stable address.
Okay, but not a SPRAM device that, you know, detects if you have any alcohol in your system?
No, I do not.
And I'm assuming part of your probation is no drinking, or
100%. Sorry, yes, 100% sobriety.
Okay.
All right. It looks like you did have people that wanted to maybe speak on your behalf. Are they present?
I believe Christina Comp is my sister. She's on, and that's my father, who is at the address. I believe are on. I don't know if they want to speak.
Does dad or sister want to speak on Nicholas?
Yes.
Okay. Kevin, if you could just please state your name and address for the record, please.
All right, my name is Kevin Terrian, and I live at 523 5th Street, Green Bay. We've resided here for 30 years.
Okay. And what would you like to say about Nicholas?
Well, I think that he's learned a very valuable lesson from being incarcerated that long. And I know he's going to do everything in his power to keep himself in the right lane, you know, as to, because he already seen his freedom taken away, and I know that means a lot to him.
Did you visit him at all while he was in prison?
Usually twice a week.
Okay. So can you tell us what kind of changes maybe you have noticed from when he first went in custody to today?
Well, the only noticeable change was he was pretty depressed about how he had gotten there. And I see him being more confident by having sobriety behind him, and I know he knows that he's couldn't hang around with the people that he has in the past, and that he's working on what triggers stuff like that in his life. So that's what I'm.
Okay. And then do you and your wife have any rules set forth for him to be able to reside with you?
We probably will, but it's kind of surprised that he wasn't able to stay at the place that they had set up for him. And when I'll talk to my wife about it, because yes, he needs, if he's going to be staying with us, he needs some rules, curfews, and make sure that he doesn't fall back in the old ways.
And you do want him to live with you?
Yes.
Okay. And then knowing that he, was an alcoholic, or still, I guess, once
Yes.
you're an alcoholic, you always are.
Yeah.
Do you have alcohol in the home?
We do, but we'll probably have to, it's just a couple of beers that we can probably get rid of.
Okay. Okay. All right. I don't have any further questions for, Kevin, unless the board members do.
None here.
None here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And then Christina, did you want to speak on Nicholas's behalf?
Sure.
Okay, so I just need you to state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Christina Kamp. My address is 1344 Angels Path, apartment number 1 in De Pere, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Could you spell your last name for me, please?
It's Kamp, K-O-M-P.
Okay, thank you.
All right. And what would you like to say?
Just that I've noticed, kind of the same when Nick first was incarcerated. His mood was very down, and as he has completed courses throughout his time while he was incarcerated, like his confidence definitely, like I had said, has gone up, and I feel like he has kind of made peace with things that have happened, and moving forward, he is determined to seek that sobriety. And as his sister, I am fully behind him and would attend any courses, or will definitely be asking about what he's pursuing to keep that sobriety in place, and any way that I can. And I'm glad that he's out, and I will always be here for him.
Okay. And so you also visited him while he was in prison?
Correct.
Okay. All right, good. All right. Any questions, board members, for her?
None here.
Okay. All right, thank you, Christina. Is there any comments or suggestions or talk that any of the board members would like to have?
I just think he's gone through treatment. He's gone through sobriety treatment. He's seeking further treatment from the tribe. I think he's on the right path, and I'm definitely in favor of approval.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I see that he actually graduated his SOT class. It seemed, did I see the date? I thought it said July 21st.
That was of last year.
Oh, of last year, okay. Okay, so still pretty fresh in your head.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Okay, so does anyone want to make a motion? Or any further discussion?
Move to approve, address specific.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Nicholas, you're approved to reside at 523 Fifth Street. If you do decide to move from that location, you will need to come back before the board.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any discussion before, with the board members? Okay, it looks like our next meeting is scheduled for August 17th, 2022 at 4 p.m. And then we'll just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, enjoy the rest of the summer.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
bye.
everyone. Good night.
Take care.